All right, October 28th, guys. And this is where we get down to, we lose people each week. And why do you think that is? What are you learning in this program? Why do you think people start off real strong, they're on every call, and then as we get going, why do you think we lose some of them?
Deception.
There you go, Maureen. Deception. People start to say, you know what? I can't do this. They have deception around getting the work done, watching the videos, even their answers. Sometimes they don't like their answers, and they'll go into deception over that. And if they would just continue to go through the program, they'll get to transformation. So for everybody watching this video, I hope there's a lot more people watching the video than are on the live call. This is where we encourage you to, whether you feel like doing it or not, do the daily work every single day. So I'm going to do kind of a brief review about the weeks and where we've been so far. The first week, it was all about vision. Who do you want to be? How do you want to show up as a leader? John, you see you're on there twice? Or is that your mom logging on as you?
Probably my mom. How the tables have turned. Huh,
that
Cindy?
Is so funny. Now she's stealing your identity. Oh, that's a first. That is a first. All right. So week one was the vision, creating your vision for yourself. And guys, if you can always go back and change that vision. That's something I want you guys to know. As long as you're in the program, and for a couple weeks after the program, you can change your answers. You can change your answers, but you really want to keep working on that vision, and it will change. My vision has changed when I first started doing, goal setting and writing things down. I would set goals for myself, and they've changed over the years. So just know that's something that's going to change for you as you go on, but it is so critical to your success in life, in your business, with Isagenix, but in your life is really setting that intention, because we don't know how to set our outcome and work towards our outcome if we don't know what our vision is. And that's what we really need to do with our team members. So you guys are leaders because you've enrolled people and you've signed up in this program. So when you're talking to people, that's something that you need to be so fully aware of. We need to know what our people's why is, why they're doing this, why are they doing this business, what are their goals, how can we help change their lives. So helping them become who they want to be. Week two was breaking old habits. Have any of you guys broken any old habits that you're willing to share? Any successes with even if it's one little habit?
I'll share.
Yes.
Well, one of the habits I've been working on breaking is just my morning routine. So I had gotten into a habit of getting up in the morning and getting my coffee and sitting down and reading the paper, which is probably the worst thing you can do to start your day, because there's nothing good in the paper. So I've been trying to make a really concerted effort to not do that and just not even get the paper and get my coffee. But instead of getting the paper, either reading, reading some kind of a book, with motivation or personal development, or coming downstairs and, trying to work on this program. So I can't say I've been 100% successful, but the needle is moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
It's taking a little time.
And honestly, that is one of the best things you can do for yourself, is that morning routine. Every podcast I listen to, every program I do, they always talk about their morning routines. Successful people have really great morning routines and evening routines. This one guy I'm going to be doing coaching on for my team this week with my coaching calls. I'm talking about Ed Milet, and he talks about having a morning routine that is non-negotiable and a nighttime routine that's non-negotiable. During the day, things come up out of our control. We can't always, we don't have control over all the distractions and life's challenges that come our way, but we do have control over those routines we do in the morning and those routines we do at night. So that's a really huge one. Good for you for making that a priority. Anyone else want to share any old habit you're trying to break? we can help you with that, John.
I can share, Cindy.
Please, Susan.
Call me John.
John.
So just pretend I'm John. I'm going to give you one of John's habits just to mix it up a little bit here. He's shaking his head. He's scared.
Yeah, he's very scared. I'm going to change your name so I don't have to look at that too. Go ahead.
Can you change it?
Yeah.
Anyway, so so I'm doing this program too, obviously. And one of the things that I wrote down that I wanted to change is, we do all these Growth U programs, and we go to In-State to Create. And Tanya does such a beautiful job of really listening when you're talking to her. And I noticed it's not just Tanya, it's really all of the Growth U advisors, because when I'm talking to someone, they give me their undivided attention, and somebody could walk by and put their hand on them or try to distract them and say hello, and they are just completely focused on you. And it makes I know how good it made me feel. And so that's something that I'm really trying to do, because I will have a habit, or I had a habit of sort of, I'd be talking to someone, but then I kind of look to, keep my bearings in the room, what's going on, especially like if you're at a big event and you've got a lot of team members everywhere, or you're distracted in some way. And, it just made me realize that if they were doing that to me, because I know how good it feels in that moment when they're completely focused on me, that if they were doing that to me, I wouldn't feel so good. Or it would just, maybe I wouldn't not feel so good. I don't know if I'd maybe that much notice it, but I really notice how intent they are.
Okay.
So I like that. And it's something that I realize, I'm just kind of a shiny object, and, what's going on and who's walking by. And it's not that I want to listen, but I half listen. So.
And how about, have any of you, on that note, have any of you had a conversation with someone when they were really distracted? I can think of, when you said that, I thought of one person that I really love and I have a lot of respect for. And when I'm around her, it's very hard for her to give me eye contact. And, I know I'm kind of the same way, Susan. I swear, if I were tested, I probably do have a bit of ADHD.
I learned it from you, but.
I know, but I really do try. I ask a lot of questions and I try to intently listen. And this person, she can barely keep my eye contact, and she's always looking around to see who's around. And it makes me feel like I'm not important, because she's more interested in what's going on around her than what I have to say. So I think that's a really great thing for us to focus on, for sure. That's a really good one. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? Hey, Jill. Hey, Polly. Yes, Jen.
I've been working on the reframing, and I mentioned this on another call, but I don't know. I'm still think I'm in deception with this, but I'm working through it, so that's a positive, because I am changing my thoughts to say, instead of struggling, that I'm striving to improve. So one of the things that that's on my list that I'm striving is to do my lessons every day, to put the focus into those, and to change the wording in my mind when I'm thinking something. So I'm still working on it, but that's definitely a habit that I'm trying to change as I'm going through this program.
Yeah, and that's the first step, honestly, is being aware of what needs to be changed. And once we're aware of it, then we can be more conscious of it, and we see when it arises, and we know, oh gosh, gotta change that. And we're all works in progress. If you think that Susan, John, and I have it all together, you're completely wrong. I mean, there's certainly things we slip up on every single day, and I think the only difference is now we're fully aware of it. Like, we know when we're going back to bad habits, or not succeeding and breaking those habits. We're fully aware of it now, but we're not. It's not like we've arrived and we've gotten. Rod always says there is no there. It's not like we've gotten there yet, or we ever will get there. But that is so important to break those old habits. One for me is the very last thing I do before I go to bed is I'm on my phone. I plug it in by my bed. The very first thing I do when I wake up in the morning is pick up the phone. So I'm really trying to not do that. I'm trying to, when I'm in bed in the morning, before I even roll out, I have an audience here. You guys are distracting me. The very first thing I do in the morning is I really try to say my prayers and talk things through in my head about what I'm grateful for before I get out of bed, pick up the phone, and get to my day. I don't, one of the main reasons they tell you not to do that is because there's so many demands on us all the time that are negative. I don't wake up to negativity. So for me, that's never been an issue. I wake up to, thank you, you've changed my life. I'm down 20 pounds. I can't believe it. I just got paid more money than I've ever gotten paid before. So like, I love waking up to that. So for me, it's not so much that I'm waking up and starting off with negativity. I just want to start off with the right things. So I've been making a really good effort to try to, not do this quite as much right before I go to bed. I really want to move it. And the only reason I'm not moving it is because I have kids away at college and a mother that's older. And so it's like, I'm afraid if I put it in the other room and someone needed me, I wouldn't hear it. So that's the only reason I even keep it in my room at all. But that's a habit I'm really working on. So you guys can hold me accountable for that. Any others? All right. So this week, the whole purpose of this week is called Disciplining Your Imagination, all about focus, guys. And I know sometimes it's very, very hard to stay focused. There's so many things in life to distract us. If you've ever been on a Zoom like this, you can see dogs coming in, people coming in. My brother-in-law, who never comes to visit, just came in the room. I never get to see him, and he just came in the room. And then they walked by and they kind of wanted to listen, and they were distracting me, so now they just left. That kind of stuff happens. People walk in, during the day, phone calls happen, things happen all the time. So remaining focused is really, really difficult. And when we are working on becoming a better leader in all areas of our life, focus is absolutely important. It's critical. So we want to be able to define our outcomes and attach it to our vision. So let's talk about that. Let's share. Is anybody willing to share what are your visions? What are your big visions? And then the outcomes are the little things along the way. Who wants to share their big visions?
I'll go. I wish I had written it down from my journals, but I should know it by heart. So my big vision is really ultimately to retire my husband and just relieve that financial stress, just have the financial flexibility. And more so just so that we can, contribute more to our family, have that legacy, leave our children something. I've gone through my husband's parents, taking care of them, and then, helping them with their finances, and now my father. So I understand the burden. They saved all their lives and ended up with nothing, to give to the family. And they thought they were leaving them, leaving us with something, and it doesn't turn out to be anything. So I want that for my family. That's one of the most important things for me.
That's beautiful. One thing, and you corrected yourself, you said a but and then you changed it. One thing I've learned from Rod, and I wonder if Susan and John have picked up on this, he never says but. He says and all the time. We're on so many calls in a week with him. I mean, we listen to him a few hours every single week, live calls, recorded calls. And when he is talking and sharing about whether it's for us, whether it's for Growth U, whatever it is, he always says and instead of but. That is one huge thing. I remember when I started coaching with Jeffrey Combs several years ago, he had a few words that I was not allowed to say. So I had a sticky note and it said need, and it had an X mark from it. And that was one word that it would drive him nuts when people would say need, because that came from a place of desperation. And but is also a word that it's a very negative word. When we say it, you don't even realize it, but we say it a lot. So I've been really listening to myself, and I try to catch myself whenever I go to say but, I say and instead. So I'm really glad that slipped out, although you corrected yourself, Maureen, so that was great. We lost her.
No, I'm here.
Oh.
Can you
I'm
hear
like,
me?
oh my gosh, I'm praising her and she's gone. She dropped off the call.
It disappeared.
But I caught you.
I catch myself writing it and then, changing it, but
Yeah,
speaking it is different. So that takes longer.
that's great. That's great. Who else? Who else has a vision they'll share? I'd love some of you that don't often share, speak up. Share with us. Don't make me call on you.
Cindy, mine, I don't have mine right here written, but I just kind of jotted down some more. So I really just want my next 50 years to truly be my best 50, and to do that by serving others, empowering others, and then just being able to truly enjoy each and every moment. I'm the type of person that's always focused on what's coming, and I just want to be able to enjoy my husband, my children, and everything, every person that I meet, to really be able to connect with them and make each moment valuable.
Yeah. Live in the moment. Absolutely. Live life out loud. And I think, Jill, to try to help you with that, those are like great outcomes. Your vision might be more attached around what kind of income do you need to earn in order for you to have that kind of time freedom to be with the people that you love the most and have that kind of freedom. So maybe attach a number to that. And guys, it's all different. For some of us, a 6-figure income would do that for you. Some of you want a 7-figure income. Whatever that is, there's nothing wrong with wanting that for yourself. And then the outcome of that, because you have to be very clear, crystal clear. To say we want to earn money, to say we want to be wealthy isn't enough. It's got to be clear, dollar amounts. So I would say, Jill, just focus on that. What is that number for your family that would allow you to live that would allow you to live that dream? Because that's something that so many of us want. How many of you guys want the same things? Don't we all? So yeah, that's awesome. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Anyone else?
All right, I'll go.
Okay. I was hoping you'd speak up.
Well, my vision has changed every single 6-month period I've been in Isagenix, as my life has evolved. I have a definite number of $250,000 a year. I think that Ken and I have worked out that would allow me to pay what's now become our fixed medical bills with our deductible and our insurance that we pay, because we're both, we're both 1099, so we do our own insurance. So me being able to do that, pay for our fixed medical bills and our insurance, would then allow him to not have the stress of feeling like he has to do that. So right now my Isagenix income has been paying for a lot of our medical bills that were unexpected, but I'd like to be able to not have to think, oh my gosh, it's unexpected, I have to pay for it. I'd like to just know it's there.
Right.
And I had lunch today with some good friends who are in Isagenix, and we were talking about vision, and they were saying their vision was really cool. So they have older kids that are in their 30s, they have grandchildren, and they said that their vision really was to be able to, if their kids had something they were passionate about, their children are all in like film, really cool they do projects. And so some service things that their kids want to do. And they said, if our kids ever came to us and had a passionate thing they really felt passionate about, they wanted to do a project or I can't think of the word that I want. They said, we wanted to just be able to say to them, all right, we'll back it. We'll back it for you. Here's a check. And I thought that's really cool to be able to do that. Goes along kind of what Jill was saying, like to be able to really enjoy. So for me, it's that, but it's not really funding the projects. I would like to be able to they were saying it would take the pressure off their kids from having to go and pitch their project to investors. And even though they might still go pitch the project to investors, the stress would be off of really the, insanity of having to do it. So I would like to take that kind of stress off of my family with our medical stuff. I would like to be able to really know it's there. So if something unexpected happens,
Which it often does.
Which I've had a ton of in the last 4 years. Thank goodness for Isagenix. I'd like to know it's there instead of dipping into, okay, that was supposed to pay for a new washer and dryer. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd really like to have that there. So $250,000 a year for me in Isagenix would do that, would allow us to have that breathing room.
And that's crystal clear. That's crystal clear. And you know what? In 6 months or a year, that number may turn out to be 500,000, and that may change as we go. And one thing, like, how do you guys feel about your money mindset? Like, does anyone struggle when you hear numbers like that? Does anyone say, are you working on that? Oh, a couple of you. Okay. So that's something that, this is something I've had to work on my whole life. The way that I grew up, and I wouldn't even say I was middle class. Susan saw the house I grew up in. Wouldn't you say I was probably lower class, Susan? I mean, we had nothing, you guys. And the things that I used to hear growing up about wealth and about people that had wealth, it was so negative. So for me to say out loud, I want to be a 7-figure income earner, that didn't come without years of working on myself, because I would have thought wanting to be a 6-figure income earner was greedy. Years ago, I would have thought that was greedy. Well, let me tell you, I got off the phone. I was Marco Poloing with a girlfriend today, and she told me that they not only tithe. If any of you don't know what tithing is, giving 10% of your income back to the church and to charity, they give 30% of their income, and they make a lot of money. To be able to say that, like, she was telling me that to give me inspiration, because we were having a deep conversation about vision and about goal setting. That just completely fired me up, because last year what we were able to tithe was more than I could have ever fathomed. And so for me, that's a huge thing for me. I just want to see that continue to grow and grow. So I have a dollar amount in mind on what I want to be able to give. I mean, if I'm a 7-figure income earner and I tithe, that's $100,000 to be able to give to charities, the causes near and dear to your heart. Huge. So that's where getting crystal clear has got to be important, and getting comfortable with money, because so many of the things that we all want, they're all a little bit different, and some are a little grander than others. But what we all want, and I'm hearing it over and over again with everyone sharing, is financial freedom. We want freedom. And to get that, we have to be comfortable with earning money. And wealth needs to be something that we're very, very comfortable with, not something that we shy away from, not something we're embarrassed by at all. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyone else want to share? Okay. So really the last thing I want to say on this is, your outcomes will, I mean, your visions will change, like Polly was saying, and mine have multiple times. All of us, probably can say the same thing. So, I think it's a good habit about every 6 months to write things down and really journal. I'm not a very good journaler. That's why I love these programs. Susan loves to write, so she's always writing things down. It's just not my thing. So doing these programs is so good for me. So when the program is done, you won't be able to access it the same way, but you'll always be able to have your journaling. So make sure that you guys are taking time and writing things down, because it's going to be so cool for you to go back and look at this in 6 months, in a year, as you start to get closer and closer to that vision. And as your vision grows, because that's what we want for you. We want your vision to get bigger every single year. We want it to grow and get bigger. And we want you to always be thinking about, are your outcomes getting you closer to your vision? Are those little goals you're setting along the way setting you closer to your vision? And I watched a great TED Talk. And you know what? I know not all of you are on my team, so I will post it in this group. But it was this TED Talk, and it was this guy that he never said he had ADD, but did anybody watch that? I know Susan did. Did anyone else watch the video I posted? he never said he was diagnosed with ADD, but he talked about as a small child, he could not pay attention for more than 5 to 10 minutes in class. And his teachers would always write on his report card, "Great kid. We just wish he could stay focused." And it was always a struggle for him. And he finally figured out when he was a junior in college, he was always like a C student and he wanted more than that. He finally figured out that if he did small things every single day, he could change his grades and he could do better in school. And then he ended up going on to, I can't remember what school it was now, but it was like an Ivy League school, and he got a master's degree, and I think he got a doctorate degree. And then he gave example after example after example of these huge goals that then he would just break down, and he'd make a few little tweaks every single day in his daily habits and his daily rituals until it added up to this giant outcome, this giant vision that he had. And when he achieved it, he moved on to the next one and the next one and the next one. And the whole TED Talk, the whole concept of it was how we need to set huge goals for ourselves. Our vision needs to be gigantic. And then when we chunk it down little by little, and every single day we're making decisions that are going to help us get closer and closer to that vision, that's how we'll become successful. And that's for us in our leadership. Yeah, the Granny Square Guinness Book of World Records was hysterical, Maureen. He started knitting. Like his wife was like, "Why don't you start knitting?" And he started knitting these squares, and then they made bigger squares, and then he made the Guinness Book of World Records square, and it was just amazing. And that was just one of several examples. But I'll post the video in the group so you guys can see it for those of you that are on our team. And it was just a great thing to think about as we're making these big goals for ourselves. So if a 6-figure income's what you're striving for, if it's $250,000, $500,000, $1 million a year, whatever that is for you, if you focus on that, you're going to get overwhelmed. And what are you going to go into? Deception. Absolutely. It's going to be woo. So by figuring out what that big goal is and breaking it down, what do we need to do each month in order to achieve that? What do we need to do each week in order to achieve that? What do we need to do each day? And how can we break that down into sizable things that we can do on a daily basis that can be minute little changes that when added up and when done daily, regularly, consistently, they add up to huge, huge things. So think about that as you guys are, working towards your goals, as you're trying to be a better leader to your team. You're learning this so that you can pay this forward. We don't want you guys just to come out of this in 45 days saying, "You know what, I feel better about myself. I feel a little more confident in my leadership skills." We want you then to teach this to your teams and pay it forward so that you can teach them how to be better leaders too. Because the bottom line is, if you really work on yourself, becoming a better and stronger leader, you're going to be able to empower others to do that. And our team is making a little bit of a shift, and we're really going to be talking more about the business. And the whole concept is that we need to be creating leadership at least 3 levels deep. So that I share with Maureen shares, and I share with 5 people. Maureen's one of them. And those 5 people I teach to share with 5 people. And those people we teach to share with 5 more people. So we're creating real strong depth in our organization. So how do we do that? By paying it forward. So we want you guys to take everything you're learning in this program and pay it forward. So take notes. Keep track of this. Go back. If you're not satisfied with things you've done at the beginning, go back. It's fine to do that and make some changes in your program. And then really, really be excited about looking back at this in 6 months and saying, "Wow, I've really grown. I've really changed. And I'm so excited about the leader I'm becoming." Any questions or anything before we close out the call today? Or comments? Sue, John? Yeah, Jen.
I have a question, and it kind of goes back to the vision. I think part of my problem is I don't know if my vision, I don't know, I think there's a little conflict there. Because ultimately what I would like to do is have more time freedom. In order to do that, though, I need to stop teaching, because that's what's really holding me back. Because you know, it restricts the time that I can do things. But the problem is I really like my teaching job. So I think that they're working against each other sometimes, because when I put that vision out there about doing other things and stopping teaching, I think it's working against me in my head, because I can't picture myself not teaching.
All right. Susan, anything you want to say before I give my 2 cents? Okay.
I was going to, you know, I tell people all the time, sometimes I'm jealous that I don't have a job, you know, another place to go. I'm always looking for places to go and people to talk to. And I think if you look at that, like like it's part of the whole greater picture for you, that you're doing your job and it's not taking away from Isagenix. It's actually adding to, you know, you're being, because you don't, the fact is, Jen, you don't need a ton of time to do this business and be successful, you know, and if there was a point where it was just, you know, overwhelming, you could make that decision down the road. But I personally think that it's great to have that. Sometimes you're even a little more focused, you know, here you are, you're on the call, right? You have a full-time job, it's Sunday night, you probably have to get up in the morning and go teach, right? But you're here, and so it's a matter of just sort of prioritizing. That's what I think.
Yeah. Yeah. And so often, like, people will say to me, you know, I want to make a lot of money with Isagenix, but I don't want to quit my job. I love my job. I'm like, you never have to quit your job, but won't it be nice to be able to look at your job like Isagenix is your income and you're doing your job because you love it? And it's just a different way to look at it. So you're not stressed and you're not overwhelmed about it. And then when you get to the point where you want to make the decision and walk away from that, Jen, use everything that you love about teaching, you can use here. Like, I feel like we teach people all the time. I don't have a teaching degree, but boy, do I do a lot of teaching. I don't have a psychology degree, but boy, do I use that. I have a communication degree. I use that all the time. So just keep in mind, big picture, when you're ready to walk away from that, all of the skills and all of the things you love about teaching, you can do here. The only difference is you'll be teaching more adults than children, you know? And so, you know, don't worry about that. And don't get so hung up on that it makes you feel like you've got conflicting things going on, because your vision is the same no matter what. How you get there might be a little bit different. Does that help at all?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Very good question.
One more thing about visions too. I think, Jen, that if you look at it like this, we're teaching our leaders, our team, to have a vision too. And so by you doing it all, you're having this vision, you're sending a clearer message to people. You know what I mean? I think it's important that when we're creating our vision, right, we've got to look at it like it's not just for us, because if I don't have a clear vision, I'm not going to be able to show Maureen what a vision is, and Maureen's not going to be able to have a clear vision, so she's not going to be able to show her people. And sure, there's conflict sometimes, but like Polly was just saying, every 6 months her vision changes. So just make sure that it's something that is a stretch. It's not a goal. It's a vision. Like, gosh, what do you want your life to look like? And you don't know how you're going to get there. I mean, I might say my vision is to be multiple, earn millions and millions of dollars a year. And who knows, down the road, it might not even be Isagenix. I could have real estate. I could own gyms all over the country. I could, be a part owner of Nike. Who knows, but that's kind of my point. You just need to have a vision, have it be big and bold enough, and know that it's going to change for you, but you want to make sure you have that so you can pass it on to those 5 people and those 5 people. So that's what I loved about this week, I learned a lot about visions, because I used to think they were goals. Not now, but I mean, as I've been doing these programs, I used to think, oh, a vision, who am I to think, and then you start thinking these crazy, outrageous things. But that's where you give permission. If Cindy lived in her old vision of where she lived, and once in a while I still drive by that house, and it did look far better when you lived there, Cindy. But no, when you lived there, it looked far better than it does now.
Yeah, yeah.
But my point is, Cindy was able to have a big vision and pass it on. And imagine, we wouldn't even be here if Cindy didn't do that. And she taught me to dream. My life looks totally different than it did when I met Cindy 15, 16 years ago. Not just through Isagenix, but just through, just having a vision and dreaming. And so it's important.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry so much about you being conflicted with it. Just know that it's something you really, really need to learn and understand and know, so you can pass it on, even passing it on to our kids.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a couple things. Can I add a couple things to what Susan or
Yeah.
what Jen said?
Yeah.
Because Jen, I know when I first was doing Isagenix, I was teaching, and I love teaching. I miss teaching, but I think that a good thing that you need to think of with what you're doing is, I do not, like Susan said, I do not have the same amount of contacts with people as I did when I was teaching. So your teaching job is really helping you, not just in your building, but when you go do any in-services or when you go do any kind of trainings, you're constantly meeting new people. Whereas, like Susan was saying, I have to now try to find new people to meet. I don't have that. So that's a real plus of actually working while you're working business. But also, your goal could be just that if you ever decided, if something happened and you had to stop teaching, or if some other type of teaching opportunity came along for less money, Isagenix would give you the peace of mind to be able to say yes to that opportunity. So building your Isagenix business doesn't mean you're going to leave teaching, but it gives you the flexibility that if you ever wanted to, or if something came along and you wanted to even take a 6-week unpaid leave of absence, you could do it if you had Isagenix. So I think if you think about it that way, it's not so much giving you time freedom to leave your job, but it's giving you time freedom to have the flexibility in your life if you ever had something come up. So that's how I would think about it.
Yeah. Very well said. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we will look forward to week 5. We'll see you guys here in a week. And if you have any questions during the week, if you need any help at all, please always feel free to reach out to Susan, John, or I, because we're here to help you guys. And we're so thrilled that you are sticking with this program and showing up week after week. And guys, you've seen how it's dwindled down to you. And hopefully there's a lot of people watching this. I really hope and pray there's a lot of people watching this and still plugged in. But I have to tell you, for those of you that are getting on every single week and really plugging into this and getting your work done on time, you're creating those habits that'll last you a lifetime. Long after you're done with this program, these habits will stick if you stick with the habits that you're creating. All right, guys, we love you. Have a great week.